Right, going live. We got the questions here. Okay, good. So let's see what's happening here. So the question is, hey Mark, I also follow Neville Goddard as well as you. Neville Goddard has this technique called revision, where you change your past to reflect your present or future self. Can you explain more about how this process works? And I believe it's a very powerful way to manifest. And can you talk more about this revision process from changing your past to reflect your present or future? Yes. So the revision, I call it. I also like to call it reality pruning. So what basically is that revision is changing the script in your mind or your subconscious. Okay. The first thing is, guys, all of us, we have what's called maps of reality. So two sets of map of realities that exist in our consciousness. One is in our regular logical thinking mind, and the other is in our subconscious. So both of our minds have different ways of viewing our current reality. So you got to remember that. You view reality a different way in your regular mind than you view reality in your subconscious mind. That's important to understand. It is called subjective, and you have objective realities. So the first one is, in your regular mind, you're going to have more of an objective view of reality. So, okay, that means that you're going to think reality is kind of fixed. Hence, that's why you kind of do a lot of logicalize. That's why you kind of like feel stuck. But in your subconscious mind, reality is more subjective. So what reality pruning is, or revision, is basically what you're going to do is something like this. Let's say you have an issue with your weight, or you want to release more weight. Let's say from you were a young kid or child or whatever, you always had like you want to become more slender or whatever. So what you would do is you would completely forget about it. You would change your map of reality by saying something like this. You might say, "Wow, I've always been skinny. Why do I always maintain the perfect weight for myself?" So what you're doing is you're synaptically changing the wiring in your brain, and that's very powerful. Or you can, another one is, okay, if you grew up in poverty and you want to have more money or wealth, you could say something like, my family has always been wealthy. I've always been wealthy. Why am I so wealthy? That is called revision, or I like to call it reality pruning. And that's very powerful to manifest, and it can help with a lot of stuff. You can get rid of trauma, you can change your whole map. And the reason is because our subconscious mind holds on to our memories or events as reality. So like whatever you have in your past, your subconscious currently runs that as your present reality. So if you had a past where you didn't like it, you can literally just start to forget about it, like shut it out. When you start to shut it out, then you revise it by giving it a new meaning. Then it will start to incrementally change your life. And the reason why is because in the unconscious mind, there is no such thing as objective world. Everything is subjective. It literally believes what you tell it. The more you tell it, the more it buys into it. The more it buys into it, the more it's going to reflect in your current reality. Okay, that's revision, and that's why it's so powerful. Because in the brain, you have these things called synapses, neurons, and they send electrical signals across to each other. And remember now, these cells in the brain, they don't have logic. They don't have a filter that stops them and say, hey, wait a minute, this didn't happen, or this happened this way. It doesn't work that way when it comes to the exchange of information. It only works that way in your conscious mind. But if you're just convincing yourself or telling yourself that, hey man, this is how it always this is how it always been, then your brain will tune that out and bring in that new reality. So you can call it mapping you from your to your future self. You can call it anything. It works for anything. If you're depressed, you can always say, why have I always been so happy? Why do I feel so good? Why do I feel so positive? and then your brain will start to adapt to that. So that's what Neville Goddard talked about when he talked about revision. And that's something, all of you should be doing. You have to rewrite your script. You got to remember, right? Same thing for everything, for suicidal thoughts, anything you have of that. It helps you by just saying, why have I always been so positive? Why do I love living life? Why is life so happy and prosperous for me? You know, that the repetition of that will start to have an effect on you, and then you change your whole life. Remember, our lives, guys, are like what? Scripts, right? Look, the important thing to understand, people, is that this reality where we live in, it's like a play. It's like a literal movie. That's the best way to make sense of this to you. You literally live in your own movie world, and you all have scripts. There's two scripts you have. You have one in your logical mind. You have one in your subconscious mind. The script you want to change, that changes the whole movie, is in the subconscious mind. The script in the conscious mind, we don't have to worry about that too much. What we want to do, we want to change the one in the subconscious, because when we change the script in the subconscious, it will change the one in the conscious. You can't go from conscious to subconscious. You got to go from subconscious, then it alleviates and goes to the conscious. However, what you do with your conscious is you use your conscious to put your attention on the stuff you want. That's the power of the conscious mind. The conscious mind is basically designed for you to observe what you want, declare it out to the universe, visualize it, image it out, and send it out. And then the subconscious takes that and then starts to map the reality. See that? So that's the power of it. So I give you some more examples if you want to do what we call the reality pruning or revision. Is to go back into your past, the stuff you don't like. Okay, evaluate your past. Say, man, I didn't like the way I grew up. I had a toxic relation, toxic parents. I had money problems. I had issues with my weight. All that is stored in the cells in your body. So what you want to do now, you want to revise it and change it by saying like this, by totally starting to forget about it, but by replacing it, by changing it, by saying, man, I realized, man, I've always been so skinny. I've always had the perfect weight. Wow, I've always been so wealthy. My family, my parents, everyone is so wealthy. Since I was growing up, things are always working out for me. I had the perfect family. I had such a supporting, loving family, right? Even though in your mind it says your memories are I had toxic relations. But let me show you something about your brain, man. Our brains, even our memories, people, aren't even accurate. As time goes on, what we call entropy goes on, memories start to change in your brain. So your brain doesn't even tell you the whole truth. Truth is subjective. So you can change this. You can now start to say, man, I've been so healthy. I've been so the perfect weight. I've always had so much money, da-da-da-da. And one day now, when you remember that, your brain will change the memory to reflect something on finance. Or the memory will totally be changed. And now you'll start to experience new things. And it will start to reflect in your current reality. That's it. You have to change the self to what's called your true self. Your true self deserves the abundance, the prosperity, the liberty of pure existence of life. That's what the true self is. The fake self is the one that's generated and processed through the matrix and programming. That's how you do it. So that's one of the most powerful things you can do, is to change your script. And also, if you guys like to write and do scripting, it's also excellent to script in that way, to script as if it already happened. Change out the past, move on, rewrite the past, literally rewrite the past. Your brain will create the new map of reality in the present moment. That's correct. You said it here. Wanted Hero Superfan says, to change others, you must change yourself. That's right. To change yourself, you also have to change yourself. That one's deep right there. Means the self you have right now is not the reflection of who you truly are. It's an illusion of that. Yeah, and also I have those affirmations I call I wonder. I wonder what it would look like to be that. I wonder what my life would be. All of those things will change. But look now, for the revision thing to work and for the reality pruning to work, these are things you have to say out loud. Like, you have to say them where you can hear them. Yep, that's right. Neville said, no one to change but the self. And if you notice, the secret to really getting what you want, and if you're watching this or if you're learning now, you're seeing a theme here. This guy's always talking about like stuff, and everything goes back to the self. It's like there's nothing. This guy doesn't talk about outside. He's always talking about inside, and that's because everything is inside. Like the atoms inside, observation is inside, reality is inside. There's nothing outside. Outside is actually inside of us. So if you're smart and you're watching this, you say, okay, man. So all I gotta do is change myself. Remember, people, how do you see the world? You see the world through what? Your senses, yourself, your eyes, your ears, nose, your taste, and your touch. Those are how you sensory interpret your reality. Your senses are also subjective. They're not objective. In layman's term, your senses can change by how you think and how you feel. If you think new thoughts, you feel a new way, you'll see new things, you'll taste new things, you'll smell new things. It literally works that way. Got it? Everything is projected outward from inside. It's a hologram. This is a holographic universe or multiverse we live in. There's nothing projectedly that's physical about the nature of reality. Everything is information being streamed through your consciousness outside, what looks like outside, but it's really inside, okay? And all that stuff. What about I am affirmations? When you're going to do affirmations, you don't do affirmations in statements. You got to do affirmations in questions now. So you don't say, I am wealthy, I am successful. You got to say, why am I so wealthy? Why am I so successful? Because the statements do not activate the creative mind. And the creative mind is the subconscious. Statements activate the objective logical mind, which is the conscious mind. And that can only get you about 5% of the results. If you want up to 95%, then you have to go into the subjective mind, which is the unconscious mind or your subconscious mind. That's the power of that. And I know many people have been using I am affirmations for months, years, and they don't get any results. Now you know why. Yeah, after a while it feels good, but feeling good is not what you're looking for. You're looking for feeling good and having the actual physical results in your life, right? But when you use the questions, they now elicit a response via the unconscious, because the unconscious has no choice but to answer questions as physical experiences. Think about that for a second. Now it's making sense, right? So again, you got to focus on yourself. Do things to change yourself. Can I use mass subliminals before sleep and visualize those? Yes, with theta waves. That's what everybody should be doing. Your number one priority is remap yourself. Give yourself new memories. Give yourself new visions. Give yourself new goals. Give yourself new expectations. See yourself as the future self you want to be. And all of that can only take place in the imagination and through your spoken languages. And all of us can do this. See how that works? Exactly. Got it. I tried just using theta waves. theta waves alone will just sync hemispherically. You have to have theta waves with some subliminals to get to your unconscious mind. So while theta waves in themselves are good, they just give you a nice balance. But if you want sustainable changes, you have to have language to program the unconscious mind. Your unconscious needs direction, it needs communication, it needs for you to tell it to do something. And for you to do something, you have to start to talk and program your mind accordingly. See how it works? So anyone can do this. So that's, now you know the power of what Level God call revision, and you can actually put this into practice right now. And if you just keep sustaining and be repetitive, you'll start to see incremental changes, and you start to say, oh my goodness, damn, this stuff is working. And boom, it comes right into your world. All right, so guys, I'll see you next time. Enjoy your day.